In this video, we're going to take a little look at the book Clash of Empires. If people haven't kept up on the channel or had a chance to take a look, I did 7 different videos on kind of a clash between my Persians and my Greeks. Kind of an overview look at the rules and a very shallow dive into the rule book. And what I want to go through here is what I like about the book. Again, giving you my first impressions, very preliminary sort of look at this, and then I think I'm going to do another bigger game, and I'm going to take it right from the top, and we're going to work through the sections, and then I'm going to give it a much more in-depth review. So let's not let me babble on too much about that, and let's get right to it. First off, it's a nice hardback book. It's very similar to a lot of other like army books and rule books that we all have in our libraries. And opening it up, it's got a very nice finish on it, and it has a very organized table of contents, lots of eye candy to look at as you peruse through the book. Gives you an introduction and everything, all the standard sort of fare that we've become used to in our army books and rule books, and all these standard. We've seen these all before, these sorts of photos where they go into depth and explain what units are and how rules work, but these are the type of photos you'll see in the book. Standard stuff we've all seen. More eye candy, which I really enjoy, by the way. It really I don't know, it's like when you see these nice models in the book, it's like, man, I really want to play that game. That looks like something I want to do. Okay, and much more technical aspect, let's look right here. Ooh, I don't know, that glare is awfully bad on that, isn't there? Yeah, I don't think you can quite see that very well. Let's see if I can't get that a little bit clearer for you. No, that's horrible. Well, oh, I know. Let's use this sheet right here for the game I'm going to do. Here we go. That's much better. In most army books, it gives you a unit profile, and it has the different headings. Very easy to understand, very straightforward, nothing ambiguous about it. You just need to know the definitions. You know, when I first looked through it, I thought, what in the world does DL and ML mean? But those are just basically, the DL is your discipline. This is how well your troops are trained, and your morale is basically their willingness to fight. And other than that, it's all basic stuff, except for in historical stuff. In games, we need to know what kind of order these troops are. Now, a closed order unit, let's say, is an example like a phalanx. That's a closed order unit, and it will come with both positive and negative effects for being in a phalanx formation, which, if you look at my last videos, it'll tell you about that, but we're going to go into that a little bit later in a much more in-depth review, and probably see some of that action in the next game I'm putting together. Or it can be an open order unit, which can be like light infantry, war bands, mobs. You know, they're open order. You know, they're not quite skirmishers, but they're not a ranked up unit. Okay, very easy to understand. I mean, it only takes you a few minutes to get a handle on it, and you're ready to roll after that. Okay, moving on to the maneuvers. What I like is how they distinguish between what your closed order infantry can do and your open order infantry and your skirmish order infantry can do. When I first read through this and was looking at how they break it down from simple maneuvers to advanced maneuvers, and then there's another category of complex maneuvers, which I'm not going to break down at this point in time. I thought it might be a little bit more difficult, and I thought, well, wonder why they did that. Well, in this game, I think what's going to happen is this becomes one of those sections, and I don't care what genre game you play, there's usually one section where there's a combat phase, a shooting phase, or whatever phase it is that becomes the phase that you need to understand all the tactical nuances of it to get the most out of the army that you're playing. And I believe in this game, maneuver will play that part. Combat is pretty straightforward. Shooting is really straightforward. It's not very complex. You know, you have modifiers to hit. It's a basic hit roll. You know, ones always fail, sixes always hit. You know, just that standard sort of stuff. But maneuver, and I've always been a fan of games in which there's a lot of maneuverability of your units on the table. But what I like about this is certain units can do certain things easier than others, and a lot of that depends upon their discipline. That DL section on their profile becomes very important. It's not just an additional stat line that they throw out there. So that becomes really important in this game. So, okay, let's swing on down here. More eye candy. I do like it. I always find it very inspirational to see, you know, pictures of guys that have done really exceptional jobs. I don't care whether they're professional painters or not, that, you know, yeah, there we go. Like those little chariots. Okay. Oh yeah, more. These pictures right here really started my thought process years ago about doing a Greek army when I first got this book. And then one of the things else that I want to talk about, just to go over a little bit, is terrain. In each one of your books, your army will be affiliated with a standard terrain type. Like with the Greeks, it's fertile. And with the Persians, now because their empire was so large, they had both fertile and arid lands on which they could fight. It doesn't take away too much from the game, I don't think, but it is a place where you can see where it's kind of limiting to your choices. It's like, and I'm like, for example, oh boy, I really wish this wasn't, I could zoom in a little bit closer. Oh, go the right way, Tim. And right here in this category, this one right here, if you have oops, I'm on the wrong, oh goodness, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Oh no, oh no, oh, well, I guess I better find that before I continue. Okay, I found the right page here that I really wanted to have. Here it shows climate, a compulsory, and some terrain that you're not permitted to use. I find this a little restrictive. I understand their thought process, but I would think that in any sort of fertile climate, I know I grew up in a farming state, and we have all kinds of wetlands and I don't know about impassable terrain, but and we have plenty of woods, so I'm not sure I'm buying that part of it so much. It seems a little restrictive, but that's an easy fix for everyone. That is an easy fix. So let's continue on. Back in the back, what I want to talk about is their standard index, which is interesting to me because it's all based off of a topic, not like going through a chapter and stuff like that, like a contents, but it's actually, if you want to look up flank attacks, you go look up flank attacks back here. It takes you right to the page. So kudos for that. And then I like this. This is where you get, you know, copies of this to make your army lists. And right here, if we go backwards into the book, you have a summary of all the basic rules in the book. And if you wanted to print out each one of these little pages, you could make yourself a nifty little reference book, so you wouldn't have to keep going. Once you played the game enough, you could go back and just use that and not worry about it. And this is interesting, where they put in all the ads for the miniature manufacturers and stuff. Because I don't know, because someday I would hope that someday that all these guys are going to stay in business and be in business, but some of you may look here and say, "Oh, they're out of business already." But that's where we're at. Just a quick little perusal over the rule book. I've got another large game I'm setting up to do a much greater in-depth look, and I'll get back with you when I have that done. I'm going to start right from the beginning. I've gone through the terrain. I've got all the setup done. We'll talk about strategy ratings and climate strategy ratings, army breakpoints, and your army rating as well, as opposed to the strategy rating. There's two different topics there that they work together, but they affect your army and the gameplay differently. We'll go through that. That may take me a couple of videos to do the book justice, to really go over certain aspects, but as we go through this next game I'm setting up, hopefully some of those things will become fairly self-explanatory once we start doing that. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for taking the time to view the video. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you next time.